Here's a few things you can do in a pinch. A few trade secrets here that maybe not the best way to solve some of the problems, but occasionally you're in a situation where you don't have a choice and you need to do something to get the guitar to work. So let's start out by showing you a little thing you can do with WD-40. Sometimes the pots will get corroded or oxidized and shorting out, and you're at a gig, and what can you do? You can take a little WD-40, just squirt it right in there like that. Take the pot, spin it back and forth, and this stuff really works well to help make that potentiometer work properly again and certainly get you through the gig. Let's take a look at another little trick I came up with using Teflon tape. This really helps with the problem of strings getting stuck, especially with traditional trem systems or maybe like Les Pauls. The strings are veering off and there's a lot of tilt back in the headstock. We just take a little piece of Teflon tape and I just lay this right on top of the nut, just like that. And Teflon is really slick stuff. And the other thing, a lot of the stuff that's out there to try to make your nut a little bit slicker and to get rid of those problems, those tuning problems, it tends to change the tone of the string. And this Teflon tape really does a nice job of, first off, it works better than anything I've come across to date. It's not very expensive. You can get a roll of this for about $1 or $2. Probably last you a lifetime. And it doesn't seem to change the tone of the string, which is, of course, really important. And all you have to do is each time you put a new set of strings on, put a new piece of Teflon tape on there. It has no adhesive on it, so it doesn't mess up your instrument at all. Okay. It's very easy to put on. Just get it on like that. Pop the strings into place. And, you know, you should try it. You'll probably really like it. It's amazing how easy it is. And I just take a scissors here, trim off the edge. Take that, just take your hand, fold it down. That's all there is to it. Here's another idea for you when you're in a pinch. Sometimes the guitar is moved around on you. It's acoustic guitar. There's not a lot of things you can do, and you've got to play the gig. Hopefully you have a truss rod wrench. This is not the answer to raising the action on your guitar. This is just for a quick fix. You can get the action to raise quite a bit just by loosening the truss rod. When you loosen the truss rod, it makes the neck warp like this, and it does raise the action up, and in a pinch, it'll help you get through the gig. Another great idea for when you're in a pinch, and this one I picked up, I think might have been out of Luthier Guild magazine years ago. Take baking soda. Say you've got the nut, maybe you were messing around or your nut cracked or something and we've got to play that gig. You can take some baking soda and just a little bit of it, drop it into the slot where the string is too low, and then take a little bit of super glue. Once again, this is just a quick fix. This isn't any kind of permanent fix for your guitar, but this will get that string, as I've seen guys come in and they've got matchbooks stuck under the string, whatever, because it's too low. This will get the string down to where you want it and get rid of that excess there. That super glue hardens up real nicely and it absorbs right into the baking soda. And then you can take one of your nut files. First we'll just take the string and sit it on there because it may be just perfect, but usually it's going to be a little too much, so it'll end up being too high. Then you can just take your nut file and make a little adjustment. If you're in a situation where you don't have the nut file, then just take your string and work that in there a little bit, back and forth, because it's not as hard as new bone nut or anything, and you can work it down to the height you need. But in a pinch, it'll get you out of trouble. Here's a trick I use to solve the problem with acoustic guitar pickups. Oftentimes you find that one string is louder than the other, and this is pretty simple little thing you can do. to help tweak, whoops, that individual string that from time to time will be weak, so we can work on a particular string, and it's just, you just need a little bit of tape. I think we can get this saddle out of here now. Okay, I guess make note, let's just say for instance that the high E string is weak. So we'll take here and we'll just make a little mark where that high E string is, and then let's make a little mark where the B string is. You can kind of tell by looking at it, but this will help us. Pull that saddle out. Everything else sounds pretty good, but this high E is a little weak. Take a little piece of tape, take that off of there, take it over here. We're just going to stick the tape on the bottom, and it's going to be located right where the high E is, give or take about 1/8 of an inch either way. Cut off the excess, flip it over, cut off the excess from the outside, and you can add 2-3 pieces of tape. I wouldn't go much more than 4. If it's still not in balance at that point, you have other problems. But just adding a piece of tape, one single piece at a time, slip your saddle back in, string her back up, and you'll find that that really does an amazing job of bringing that, that high E that's a little weak, now all of a sudden it'll be right there with the rest of the strings. This final trick that I'm going to show you is a way to salvage an old bridge. You might have an old Telly or Strat with the bridge saddles have gotten all corroded, and you can't move those set screws anymore to adjust the action. So what you do first, get that saddle off of there, and if it's corroded as well, you can put a little bit of this penetrating oil or WD-40 on there. Let's take the whole saddle. Let's take some of this penetrating oil, put it in possibly a can or whatever, leave it overnight, just soaking. Next day, pull it out and maybe shoot a little bit of this WD-40 on there. Then you grab it with a small set of end cutting nippers. Grab the bottom, because you're not going to have that threading back through. You can do all your threading through the other way, and because you are going to wreck the threads down there. You can really get a good hold, and just very carefully work it back and forth, and it will let go after a while, and you can unwind that whole set screw out of there and salvage that. The other thing that happens is in the top of the set screw, it gets completely filled up and corroded, and that's where these dental tools really come in handy. Once again, you shoot that WD-40 on there, just take that sharp end of the dental tool, and little by little you could just work that junk out of there and be able to get that set screw Allen wrench back in there again, and you'll salvage your original piece. And these days, having the original parts is certainly worth its while.